Gardner. Thank you, Ms. Speiler's class, for lining up nicely and quietly. I appreciate it. Really quickly, before we get started, to our parents, we're going to be going through our certificates. This first semester, they could have the opportunity to earn certificates in all academic areas. Our dynamic dolphin, they could receive a certificate in social emotional learning. You know that's been a lot of push from the district. And they could also receive a completion certificate as well. All right, first up we have Demoniki Anderson. Come on up. He's receiving certificates in social studies, science, and dynamic dolphin. Next up, Jocelyn Davis. Jocelyn is receiving certificates in reading, math, writing, social studies, and science. Naomi Forte. Naomi is receiving certificates in social studies, science, and dynamic dolphin. Levi Gaines. Levi is receiving certificates in reading, math, social studies, science, and dynamic dolphin. Kyrie Hall. Kyrie is receiving certificates in reading, math, writing, social studies, and science. Andre Jacobs. Andre is receiving certificates in social studies, science, and dynamic dolphin. Aaron Johnson. Aaron Johnson is receiving certificates in social studies, science, and dynamic dolphin. Zaylee Johnson. Zaylee is receiving certificates in reading, math, writing, social studies, science, and dynamic dolphin. Serenity Knighton. Serenity is receiving certificates in social studies, science, and dynamic dolphin. Aaliyah Landrum. Aaliyah is receiving certificates in social studies, science, and dynamic dolphin. Kyrie Lewis. Kyrie is receiving certificates in reading, math, writing, social studies, science, and dynamic dolphin. Rowan LaBelle. Rowan's receiving certificates in reading, writing, social studies, science, and dynamic dolphin. Liam McKay. Liam's receiving certificates in reading, social studies, and science. Julian Miller. Julian is receiving certificates in social studies, science, and dynamic dolphin. Royalty Shepherd. Royalty is receiving certificates in math, writing, social studies, and science. Jace Smith. Jace is receiving certificates in social studies, science, and dynamic dolphin. Amir Smith. Amir is receiving certificates in reading, math, and dynamic dolphin. Nikili. Nikili is receiving certificates in reading, writing, social studies, science, and dynamic dolphin. Pride Watson. Pride is receiving certificates in reading, social studies, and science. Donovan White. Donovan is receiving certificates in reading, math, social studies, science, and dynamic dolphin. Autumn William. Autumn is receiving certificates in reading, writing, social studies, science, and dynamic dolphin. And last but not least, Halo Woods. Halo is receiving certificates in social studies, science, and dynamic dolphin. Great job to Mrs. Filer's class. Next up, we'll have Mrs. Jordan's class. Great job, Mrs. Filer's class. Thank you to Ms. Jordan's class for lining up nicely and quietly. We appreciate it. All right, excellent job. Thank you, Mrs. Jordan's class, and thank you, Mrs. Filer's class. All right, first up in Mrs. Jordan's class, we have Rayshawn Brown. Rayshawn is receiving certificates in reading, math, social studies, science, dynamic dolphin, and good citizenship. Caden Conte. Caden is receiving certificates in reading, math, writing, social studies, science, dynamic dolphin, and good citizenship. Leilani Davis. Leilani is receiving certificates in reading, writing, social studies, science, and dynamic dolphin. Damari Frazier Williams. Damari is receiving certificates in reading, writing, social studies, and science. Naomi Frazier. Naomi is receiving certificates in math, writing, social studies, science, dynamic dolphin, and good citizenship. Liera Glinton. Liera is receiving certificates in reading, writing, social studies, science, dynamic dolphin, and good citizenship. Alexander Haddon. Alexander is receiving certificates in social studies and science. Bentley Lemitri. Bentley is receiving certificates in math, writing, social studies, science, dynamic dolphin, and good citizenship. Aiden Lyle. Aiden's receiving certificates in reading, math, writing, social studies, and science. Mateo Lopez. Mateo is receiving certificates in writing, social studies, and science. Romir. Romir is receiving certificates in social studies and science. Juliana Perez. Juliana is receiving certificates in reading, writing, social studies, science, dynamic dolphin, and good citizenship. Zion Pena. Zion is receiving certificates in reading, math, writing, social studies, science, and dynamic dolphin. Pedro Rafael Ramirez. Pedro is receiving certificates in social studies and science. DeAndre Richardson. DeAndre is receiving certificates in reading, math, writing, social studies, science, dynamic dolphin, and good citizenship. Emily Rose Thompson. Emily is receiving certificates in reading, math, writing, social studies, science, dynamic dolphin, and good citizenship. Kaylee Torres Santos. Kaylee is receiving certificates in math, writing, social studies, science, and dynamic dolphin. Jacquise Williams. Jacquise is receiving certificates in social studies and science. Let's give a hand to Mrs. Jordan's class. All right, let's look and take some pictures. Ms. Halili, we'll go to you next. Thank you to Mrs. Jordan's class. Great job. Thank you to Mrs. Halili's class for lining up nicely and quietly. We appreciate it. All right, first up in Mrs. Halili's class is Shaden Brown. Shaden is receiving certificates in reading, writing, and dynamic dolphin. Next up, we have Weston Carter. Weston is receiving certificates in writing, social studies, and dynamic dolphin. Kindergarten, can you give me 5, 4, 3, thank you. Aiden Flores. Aiden is receiving certificates in writing, social studies, and dynamic dolphin. Legacy Minity. Welcome to PTE Legacy. We're happy to have you. Good morning. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. Good job. Talia Green. Talia is receiving certificates in social studies and science. Zaylani Herbert. Zaylani Herbert is receiving certificates in reading, writing, and dynamic dolphin. Trinity Knighton. Trinity is receiving certificates in reading, writing, dynamic dolphin, and good citizenship. Ashay Kunkel. Ashay is receiving certificates in reading, math, writing, and dynamic dolphin. Zendaya Amos. Logan McKay. Logan is receiving certificates in social studies and science. Lucas Olivo. Lucas is receiving certificates in reading, math, writing, dynamic dolphin, and good citizenship. Dantrell Singleton. Dantrell is receiving certificates in writing, social studies, and dynamic dolphin. Alea Smith. Alea is receiving certificates in reading, math, writing, dynamic dolphin, and in PE. Brielle Speed. Brielle is receiving certificates in writing, social studies, and science. Joy Watson. Joy is receiving certificates in reading, writing, and dynamic dolphin. Gianni Webb. Gianni is receiving certificates in reading, math, and dynamic dolphin. Last but not least, we have Camden Williams. Camden is receiving certificates in social studies, science, and dynamic dolphin. Hi, Deja. You have to wait your turn, Deja. Okay. Hi, Deja. Let's give a hand to Mrs. Halili's class. Great job.
You got the teacher right there.
Yeah. Aiden.
Mrs. Martinez, you can do this. Great job, Mrs. Halili's class. Thank you for returning nicely and quietly. Thank you to Mrs. Martinez's classes for coming up.
Tell Miss Troutman you have to go pee. Right. Tell her. You have to go to the bathroom, don't you? That's what you say.
All right, thank you to Mrs. Maddox's class and Ms. Martinez. Thank you. All right, first up we have Jade Andrews. Come on up, Jade. Jade is receiving certificates in reading, science, and dynamic dolphin. Next up we have Darshawn Brown. Darshawn is receiving certificates in math, social studies, academic improvement, and dynamic dolphin. Bryson Durden. Bryson is receiving certificates in reading, writing, and science. Christiana Crawford. Christiana is receiving certificates in reading, math, writing, science, and dynamic dolphin. Tatiana Haddon. Tatiana is receiving certificates in reading, science, and dynamic dolphin. Paisley Higby. Paisley is receiving certificates in math, writing, social studies, academic improvement, dynamic dolphin, good citizenship, and PE. Dondre Richardson. Dondre is receiving certificates in math, social studies, and SEL improvement. Legend Roberts. Casey Rowe. Casey is receiving certificates in reading, science, and good citizenship. Braxton Scott. Braxton is receiving certificates in reading, math, science, and dynamic dolphin. Zoe Shano. Zoe is receiving certificates in social studies, academic improvement, and good citizenship. Niquavius Taylor. Niquavius is receiving certificates in math, social studies, writing, and dynamic dolphin. Allie Terrell. Allie is receiving certificates in reading, math, writing, social studies, and good citizenship. Fantasy Thomas. Fantasy is receiving certificates in science, academic improvement, and good citizenship. Theo Thomas. Theo is receiving certificates in reading, math, writing, science, good citizenship, and dynamic dolphin. Zuri Paul. Zuri is receiving certificates in math, writing, and social studies. And last but not least, we have Arabella Wesley. Arabella is receiving certificates in math, writing, social studies, academic improvement, and dynamic dolphin. All right, thank you to Mrs. Martinez's class. Mrs. Vincent's class will be up next. Thank you to Mrs. Mattis's and Mrs. Martinez's class. We appreciate it. Thank you, great job. And thank you to Mrs. Vincent's class for lining up nicely and quietly. I appreciate it. All right, first up we have Deja Daniels. Deja is receiving a certificate of completion. Good job, Deja. Next up, we have Joshua Flowers. Joshua is receiving certificates in math and academic improvement. Next up, we have Tamir Watson. Next up, we have Yvonne Stewart. Ivan Stewart. Ivan is receiving certificates in reading, math, social studies, and good citizenship. Next up, we have Malik Arnold. Asaya is receiving certificates in writing, SEL improvement, and dynamic dolphin. Prashawn Harris. Prashawn is receiving certificates in reading, science, SEL improvement, and good citizenship. And last but not least, we have Miss Aubrielle Ewers. Aubrielle is receiving certificates in reading, math, writing, science, SEL improvement, dynamic dolphin, and good citizenship. And we have Miss Tammy getting best ever. All right, thank you to Mrs. Benson's class. Kindergarten, you're doing great. We have Mrs. Bailey. Last but not least. This is the last class, kindergarten. You're doing great. All right, first up we have Jackson Viewer. Come on up, Miss Bailey, as well. Jackson's receiving certificates in social studies, science, and writing. All right, next up we have Miracle Caesar. Miracle's receiving certificates in social studies and science. Next up we have Azalea Hernandez. Azalea's receiving certificates in social studies, science, and writing. Xavier Herbert. Xavier is receiving certificates in social studies, science, and writing. Keon Turner. Kion Turner is receiving certificates in social studies, science, and writing.
I guess so. I guess so.
Jackson Page. Jackson is receiving certificates in social studies and science. Bryce Rose. Bryce is receiving certificates in social studies and science. Next up we have Kalani Riddick. Kalani is receiving certificates in social studies, science, and writing. Jalen Harrell. Jalen is receiving certificates in social studies and science. Jakari Heeman. Jakari is receiving certificates in social studies and science. Nakayan Jones. Nakayan is receiving certificates in social studies and science. Isaac King. Isaac is receiving certificates in social studies and science. Alani Scott. Alani is receiving certificates in social studies and science. Kyrie Sloan. Come on up, Kyrie. Oh, okay, Kyrie's receiving certificates in social studies and science. Jaden Toby. Jaden Toby is receiving certificates in science and social studies. And last but not least, we have Jaden Hill. Jaden is receiving certificates in social studies and science.
Can't see.
Awesome job. Thank you to Mrs. Bailey's class, and thank you to kindergarten. Excellent job, everybody. That concludes our award ceremony for kindergarten students for the first semester. One more big clap for all kindergarten students. At this time, we are going to exit classes because we do have first grade students coming in. Mrs. Halili's class will stand and exit behind Miss Bailey's class. Miss Bailey's class is exiting. Mrs. Fowler's class will stand. You all will exit through these exit doors that Miss Elliott is pointing to. Oh, we also have families. We have the winter shop open in the media center. So if you would like to go visit the winter shop, we do have that open. Items are 25 cents to $25. Please check out that winter shop.
Where is she? Look at her.
Miss Jordan's class will stand up. Once ready, you will follow your teacher through. Fifth grade helpers, thank you so much. You may return to class. Fifth grade helpers may return to class. Adeline, can you come here, please?
Come on, Gunny.